Good morning. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hello, how are you? It's Chris Hand. Mac Maury is my producer. Mac, you're here on time today.
Hello. Yeah, I know. What a surprise.
Oh, it's shocking.
Time to spare. What's going on, man?
Ken Weaver is back in the newsroom.
Yes, of course.
Dude, Ken Weaver has been missed.
I know.
Jay Harper's great.
Jay Harper's the man. Yeah.
But Ken Weaver is he's the voice.
You feel like you're at home when you listen to Ken Weaver.
Man, I love Ken Weaver.
And he is at home, actually. So good for him. I'm glad he's feeling better. And also, buried the headline here, Chris. Happy birthday, man.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm too old to be celebrating birthdays. Don't do that. No, stop. Don't do that. I'm 35. I don't need to be celebrating birthdays anymore. Birthdays are for kids.
Oh, come on.
All right, we're here to discuss the news. Gosh darn it. It's so dumb.
Well, I'm excited about it.
Oh, well, great. Enjoy. It'll be all day. So, yesterday I opened the show. We were speaking about churchgoers in Idaho receiving a settlement for having their rights violated for worshiping maskless outside during the pandemic. I mean, what a crime against humanity they committed. Well, they subsequently sued and received a $300,000 settlement deal, which is amazing. And I thought that would be the end of us really talking about COVID. Like, I don't want to talk about COVID. I'm kind of over it. I'm sure you are too. But then I opened the internet up after my show, and it's dominating the internet once again. It's like the big story on everyone's radar is LeBron James's son, Bronny James, suffering cardiac arrest yesterday during a workout. It's a sad story. It truly is. He's out of ICU now, and thank God. That's good news. You know, I don't want anybody to be dealing with that, especially at such a young age. It's so sad. ESPN is reporting yesterday, while practicing, Bronny James suffered a cardiac arrest. A James family spokesperson said in a statement, medical staff was able to treat Bronny and to take him to the hospital. He is now in stable condition and no longer in ICU. We ask for respect and privacy for the James family, and we will update media when there is more information. Now, the internet, of course, goes crazy about this. And I don't want to turn this into an argument about whether or not the vaccine is dangerous or not dangerous. I think that's not the point I'm trying to make. The point I'm trying to make is it seems that we're not allowed to have the conversation at all. And when something happens like Bronny James, of course, as one would expect, just as we saw with Damar Hamlin, the internet goes crazy blaming the vaccine. And before we go any further on this topic, I'm not a doctor, okay? Talk to your doctor about what's right for you. I'm not a medical professional, so, talk to one that you trust when it comes to you and your family. And if you don't trust your doctor, there's so many good doctors in Tennessee. Find one that you do trust, because there's absolutely good doctors out here in Middle Tennessee. So, what do we know about this? Well, the first thing I asked after seeing the conversation online was, I don't know, is the kid even vaccinated? Like, if everybody's blaming something, but is there any evidence that he was vaccinated? That was the first question that I asked. I'm sure it's the first question that a lot of people asked. And I did find this from CBS from September of 2021. The article wrote, LeBron James on Tuesday said he received the COVID-19 vaccine despite his initial skepticism. The Los Angeles Lakers star spoke with reporters on Lakers' annual media day for the upcoming season, saying he and his family got the vaccine after he did his own research. And then there's a quote from LeBron James where he says, I think everyone has their own choice to do what they feel is right for themselves and their family and things of that nature, he said. I know that I was very skeptical about it all, but after doing my research, I felt like it was best suited for not only me, but for my family and my friends. Did you catch that last part? It was best suited for not only me, but for my family and my friends. So, I mean, it's not conclusive. You can't look at that and say, oh, well, that's a fact statement that Bronny got the vaccine. But it does appear that his dad was in favor of it. And it appears that he found it was right for his family. I know that I make, along with my wife, we make the medical decisions for our kids. And, as any good father and mother do, I'm sure that LeBron makes those medical decisions for his family. And he has every right to do so. So It's not conclusive that he got the vaccine, but it does appear he did. I mean, at least judging from that statement. Not conclusive. But for the sake of the argument, let's say he was. There's been reports that COVID itself causes myocarditis. There's been reports that the vaccine causes myocarditis. The LA Times actually had an article that said just that yesterday, that the vaccine causes myocarditis. In an article titled Q&A, Why Would a Young Healthy Athlete Go Into Cardiac Arrest? Down towards the bottom, Dr. Reddy, a sports cardiologist with the Mayo Clinic in Phoenix that they interviewed, states the vaccine is associated with a slight increase in myocarditis. I mean, does that mean that this is what happened to Bronny? Of course not. Is it worth investigating and having a conversation? I think so. To be fair, Dr. Reddy also says a number of different conditions can lead to cardiac arrest. Arrhythmic causes relating to an irregular heartbeat, arterial causes when the arteries can't provide enough blood to the heart muscles, and it's unclear what happened in this particular case. So that's a medical expert. It's unclear what happened in this medical case. Okay. So the thing causes the thing, but it was also probably another thing. That's what I gathered from that. However, we aren't sure. I just think it's alarming. And I do often wonder, could this be confirmation bias when we see this conversation online? You know, by confirmation bias, I mean, people had these fears. They want to see this thing. So because of the fears they have of the jab being dangerous, that any health event that happens makes them say, aha, I knew it. I knew it. So is it confirmation bias? Possibly. But I think that the most important thing is having the conversation. And the conversation is what's not being allowed. Even Ron DeSantis set up a grand jury to investigate the vaccine in December of 22. DeSantis' request argues that the pharmaceutical companies had a financial interest in creating a climate in which people believed that getting a coronavirus vaccine would ensure they couldn't spread the virus to others. I mean, it's worth investigating. It's worth having the conversation. So it's not like people aren't noticing something could be off when you have major politicians, setting up their own investigations. And again, because I think the conversation is so important, I want to have the conversation with you. The phone lines are open, 615-737-9986. And again, is it confirmation bias saying that the vaccine is doing this stuff? It very well could be. But we're seeing a lot of things that are weird. Grammy-winning singer Tori Kelly is rushed to the hospital with blood clots yesterday. 2 days ago, we find out Cleveland Browns wide receiver Marquise Goodwin is diagnosed with blood clots in his legs and lungs. The rumors around Jamie Foxx's stroke. UFC fighter Anthony Smith says he developed blood clots after the vaccine. Bodybuilder Joe Linder reveals on a podcast that he has adverse effects caused by the vaccine days before dying of an aneurysm. Damar Hamlin. I mean, all of these are young, healthy people. Jamie Foxx is older, sure. But for the most part, it seems like young, healthy athletes are having severe reactions. And these are only the high-profile stories. Ask your neighbor if they know anyone that has had a health issue after the vaccine. It seems like everyone knows someone. Coincidental, possibly. Anecdotal, absolutely. But enough to take notice and want to continue the conversation. Because it seems like this hasn't happened at this scale before. Again, coincidental, anecdotal. But I just want to have the conversation. And that's my big issue. That's what I really want to focus on. We aren't allowed to have the conversation. Again, I stress, I am no doctor. When my kids get cuts, instead of stitches, I will glue it up. I have no formal degrees. I promise you. So I can't tell you with any amount of certainty that the vaccine caused any of this. I just can't. And I'm not going to tell you with any amount of certainty that I can. But I can tell you that the dialogue that's happening online, that seems to be where the conversation leads after every one of these events. I can't tell you that's what happened. I also can't tell you that isn't what happened. I can only observe and interpret and make decisions for my family based on what I'm seeing. So I want you to talk to a professional and figure those things out for you, because that's what this is all about, informed decision making. Elon Musk weighed in on Twitter yesterday. Sorry, X. He weighed in on X. It's going to take a while to get used to. But he posted, and then he was fact-checked on the site that he owns, which was later removed, but still crazy, okay? So Elon posted this. He said, "We cannot ascribe everything to the vaccine." Fair. But by the same token, we cannot ascribe nothing. Myocarditis is a known side effect. The only question is whether it is rare or common. Now then, right after posting that tweet, it was fact-checked on his own site. Forbes reports the fact-check that his post was met with a since-removed fact-check that noted the risk of myocarditis, a rare condition involving inflammation of the layer of the heart's wall, is significantly higher after a COVID infection than after receiving a COVID-19 vaccine, citing articles from CBS News and the Yale School of Medicine. The fact-check also noted that in adolescent boys, the risk of myocarditis following a COVID infection was approximately twice the risk following a second vaccine dose. Now, it's not clear why the fact check was removed from Musk's tweet. And Musk has not made any further comments on the matter following the tweet, which no longer has that fact check. It's not clear if Bronny James suffers from myocarditis, and details about his cardiac arrest unavailable. We still don't know all the details. Personally, I don't think that what Musk said is wrong. I think that what he's trying to do is show that the newly rebranded X is now what Twitter wasn't, a place for conversation. Because honestly, our ability to have the conversation has been severely hindered for quite a while now. And I personally think that the lack of a conversation only fuels internet conspiracies. Is it true that the vaccine is hurting these young, healthy athletes? I don't know. I have my own thoughts, but I don't want to influence yours. Over the last few years in this country, the things that the people in control have been more afraid of than anything is letting us have a conversation. I also can't believe it's turning into a partisan issue. It shouldn't be. It never should have been. And I'm tired of the one side takes position A, so the other side takes position B on traditionally nonpartisan topics. Medicine, its effectiveness, and potential side effects isn't political. But of course, it always goes there. When Trump launched Operation Warp Speed, every Democrat lined up to say, no, I won't trust the Trump vaccine. When Joe Biden put mandates in place, every Democrat lined up again to turn us into second-class citizens and try to take freedoms from people for not taking the vaccine, even going so far as to say we shouldn't be allowed in hospitals for not taking the vaccine. And restaurants, I mean, they kicked a 7-year-old boy out of a pizzeria in New York City because he was unvaccinated. What we witnessed was un-American. And you know what? I'm not sure that the vaccine caused this for LeBron James' son, and honestly, I hope it didn't. I hope he recovers quickly and fully, but I want the debate and I want the conversation, because that's the only way to get to the other side of this and not resort to tribalism and fighting over issues that an overwhelmingly large amount of Americans want to discuss. Is that fair? I think that's fair. So with that, my friends, the phone lines are open. I want to hear what you think. 615-737-9986. It is 9:20. This is the Chris Hand Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
is blocking 24 eastbound and westbound in Montgomery County. The eastbound Martin Luther King Parkway, westbound right before Wilma Rudolph Boulevard. Then here in Nashville, got a crash on the South Loop. That's going to be 40 westbound. The left shoulder is blocked there, South Loop downtown. Kevin Spacey reduced to tears in a courtroom in the UK. We'll tell you why. Coming up at 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Why wouldn't you take the vax? You had a direct order to take it. You were told to take it.
Yeah, I'm not real good with direct orders.
But it was a command.
I didn't.
I mean, I'm sorry, they told you. I mean, they couldn't have been clearer about it.
Yeah, it was pretty clear. Did you take it?
Of course not.
Yeah, no. It wasn't ready. You know, it was 6 month, kind of rush job.
That was Tucker Carlson interviewing Ice Cube on his most recent Twitter episode. It came out last night. Timing is everything, my friends.
I didn't feel safe.
And, I'm sure it's a pairing that terrifies Democrats. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. And, yeah, Democrats are probably terrified of that pairing because Ice Cube and Tucker Carlson going against mainstream media and Big Pharma, that's terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. I mean, very different guys pointing out the tyranny of the COVID pandemic. And I don't think the mainstream media wants anyone to see this interview at all. They cover everything from Black Lives Matter to COVID. And I guarantee they don't want you to see this. I actually retweeted it on my Twitter page at Chris Hand on Air. And I think they don't want to see it. They don't want you to see it because Ice Cube verbalizes so well the reason why millions of Americans felt hesitant taking the vaccine.
I didn't feel safe.
But they told you were safe.
I know what they said. I know what they said. And I heard them. I heard them loud and clear. But it's not their decision. There's no repercussions if they're wrong, but I get all the repercussions if they're wrong.
Was it a tough call for you?
No, it wasn't a tough call. I wanted to be an example for my kids, really make sure they didn't take it either. Show them that I wanted to stand on my convictions and that I was willing, to lose $9 million and more because we've probably lost more, since then.
The idea is that people who stand on their convictions are heroes. They're brave. They have principles. They're the people we look to for inspiration. But in this case, with this decision and these principles, you were not hailed as a hero.
No.
You were attacked.
And he was attacked. But I love what he said, setting an example for his children. I mean, that's all any of us want to do. Be strong for our kids. Be a role model. Try to lead them down the right path. Teach them what standing for your convictions means. And I'm sure that there's a lot of people that will disagree with his stance on the vaccine. Of course, you're entitled to. But you can't argue with his reasoning that he wanted to prove something to his kids and stand up for what he believed in. That's fair.
I never told anyone not to get vaccinated publicly. That was never my message to the world. I didn't even want people to know whether I got vaccinated or not. I was pretty upset that even came out because I was just gonna quietly, just not take it and deal with the consequences as they came.
Do you know anyone who was injured by the vaccine?
I do. And they suffer every day, and it's hard to watch. Suffering in silence is not the answer all the time. Sometimes you gotta let people know what's going on so you can actually move the needle. Choose to be vocal. If it's true, why can't I say it?
Well, you can't say it because it is true.
There it is. Now that's the problem with the world today.
I think that is the problem. It seems the only crimes that people are punished for these days are thought crimes. Whether he's right or wrong, the fact that he thinks the wrong thing is what he's being punished for. You got to check out the full interview. I retweeted it on my Twitter account at Chris Hand on Air. And right now, Ken Weaver is back, baby, with the news on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
9:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast in 2 minutes. Actor Kevin Spacey found not guilty on sexual assault charges in London. The Oscar-winning actor reduced to tears on the stand after the verdict. He had pleaded not guilty to 12 charges of sexual assault. Verizon says it's working to fix a worldwide outage, leaving hundreds of thousands of customers with no mobile phone or internet service. Has yet to announce what the problem is, but says they're working on it. Here in Tennessee, the state teachers union is suing to block a law that determines what can and cannot be taught in classrooms when it comes to race and gender in public schools. And here in Nashville, the police department refuting a report on use of force in people of color as inaccurate and flawed. The report from the Community Oversight Board claims black people are 4 times as likely to be met by force from officers than white people. Metro Police says that report fails to show what analysis shows, that very few people who interact with Metro Police encounter any use of force, and that analysis was given to the Community Oversight Board 2 weeks ago, but the COB makes no mention of it. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. I've been teaching investing on Nashville airwaves for over 20 years with the Investor Coaching Show. And in that time, I taught a lot about how markets work and how we invest money and academic principles of investing money. But I've also talked an awful lot about how to avoid the mistakes that people often make with their money. Think about it. A lot of people sold out of the market at the worst time when COVID struck, or when TARP and the Troubled Asset Relief Program, or gold, they invested in that at the worst time. Bailing out of the market because they were worried about Y2K or 9/11 or jumping into energy stocks or jumping into cryptocurrency. One of the things that I like to do is educate investors, because I believe that the more educated you are, the more confident you are, and the more confident you are, the more successful you can be as an investor. Now, I not only do that on our radio show, but we do that in our offices around the Nashville region, 10 offices. To learn more about our approach to investing and financial planning, go to paulwinkler.com and set up a free 15-minute phone call. Or you can call 615-851-1950.
Hunter Biden's plea deal is now in jeopardy. President Joe Biden's son is set to appear in court tomorrow, where Delaware Judge Mary Ellen Norica will decide on whether or not to sign off on Hunter's plea deal. And Hunter Biden may have just jinxed the deal. You're not going to believe what he just did. Republican Congressman Jason Smith just filed a brief with the judge, entering into evidence the IRS whistleblower testimony. Basically a legal move to get the judge to think, you know what, are you really going to let this guy off so easy? And Hunter Biden's attorney called the courthouse clerk today and pretended to be a Republican attorney and told the clerk, oops, you know what, we didn't really mean to file all that whistleblower stuff. Can you guys just strike that from the record?
That's the smartest guy the president knows, and his latest scheme, according to Jesse Waters. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. You get involved with the conversation at 615-737-9986. You can call, you can text, all those fun things. So Hunter Biden is in court today, right now. I just watched him walk in a little while ago for his plea deal. And what may very well be the funniest turn in the entire Hunter Biden saga, the twist that no one expected. It's crazy. He had his law firm fake a lawyer call claiming to be Republicans. That way they could scratch the whistleblower testimony from the record. Honestly, at this point, if we were writing a movie script, that scene would have been the jump the shark moment where all of us said, no, too far. Not believable. This is a serious crime drama we're writing, and that's just not serious. But how untouchable must Hunter Biden feel, or subsequently, how much drugs is he on to think, guys, let's just call the judge and say, hey, we're the prosecutor, and sorry about that evidence we entered, but we totally changed our mind. So let's just forget about it. And then how does he think that he isn't going to get busted? I can only assume the man is on a binge. That's it. So what exactly happened? All right, here's how the Daily Mail breaks it down. Hunter Biden's lawyers face sanctions after being accused of lying to the clerk in his criminal tax case as the judge orders first son's attorney to explain themselves by tonight. This is from yesterday. So Hunter Biden's legal team is accused of lying to the clerk in his criminal case. So the alleged dirty trick was a ploy to remove testimony from the IRS whistleblowers from the court docket. Delaware Judge Mary Ellen Norica ordered Hunter's attorney to explain themselves or be sanctioned. So, Hunter Biden's lawyers have responded to the allegations that they conspired to lie to a court clerk in the first son's criminal case in Delaware by saying that it was just unfortunate misunderstanding. Dude, miscommunication, nothing to worry about. Why would we call and lie like that? That it was a miscommunication. Delaware Judge Mary Ellen Norica ordered the attorneys to explain themselves by 9 p.m. Tuesday or be sanctioned. Just before the deadline, Hunter's Latham & Watkins lawyer, Matthew Salerno, filed a response claiming the incident was down to an unfortunate and unintentional miscommunication. I just imagine him getting busted for this, sitting in a room with his lawyers, who we know, jump out to the balcony to do bong rips. Just sitting there like, dude, they figured it out. We're screwed. And Hunter's sitting there like, tell them we were joking. Tell them it was a joke. And we're so sorry. What an unfortunate and unintentional miscommunication. How is this real life? Are we in the multiverse? Is this an alternate reality? In this latest development, the Bidens are beginning to look completely screwed. I mean, how do they think that they're going to get away with this? If there isn't massive repercussions after this, then it's not even a question. America's fallen. We have no veil of equal justice, not even the thinnest veil. I mean, listen to this. It was alleged that Hunter's lawyers sought to remove the testimony from IRS whistleblowers about the Justice Department's lackluster criminal investigation into his tax offenses from the court docket. Yes, the matter under consideration appears to stem from an unfortunate and unintentional miscommunication between a staff member of our firm and employees of the court, said Hunter's lawyers. We have no idea how the misunderstanding occurred, but our understanding is there was no misrepresentation, Salerno wrote to Judge Norica on Tuesday evening. So he claimed, Hunter's lawyer claimed, that Jessica Bangles, the Latham staffer accused of pretending to be from another law firm, has a phone number which should show up as Latham on the clerk's caller ID. Jessica Bangles had this to say: I believe there may have been some confusion when Julia passed the information on to the court employee, resulting in a mistaken understanding that I had called for Mr. Katia's office. I am completely confident that I never indicated that I was calling from that firm or that I worked with him in any way. Sure. Got it. I mean, if we didn't know what we know about Hunter Biden, we could chalk this up as a possibility. But, I mean, come on, man. Can we honestly believe that they were joking? That this was a misunderstanding? A miscommunication?
Come on, man.
So today, we're going to have major revelations about UFOs, right? Everybody's so excited about the UFOs. If the media plays it up as big news, just know that they're distracting us from this and the real possibility of Joe Biden facing an impeachment trial. Seriously, if the news is dominated by UFOs today, just know that it's because the Bidens are screwed.
You've got an informant claiming that the Biden family had been bribed. Should you ignore that or should investigate that? The only way you can investigate that is through an impeachment inquiry, so the committee would have the power to get all the documents that they would need.
That's House Speaker Kevin McCarthy saying basically why we need the impeachment trial. So that way we can have the investigation and the conversation. As you know, I'm a fan of investigation and conversation. That's why I do this show. And I think that unfortunately, without an impeachment, I'm not sure that your average left-wing NPC will believe any evidence. And if you don't know what an NPC is, it's a reference to a video game character that is considered a non-player character. They're like, if you're playing Grand Theft Auto, they're the guy walking down the street that does nothing. They're just programmed to walk down the street. So when I say NPC, I'm talking about the people that are just programmed by the media and don't do any of their own thinking. So without an impeachment, I'm not sure that your average left-wing NPC will believe any evidence. Not anything, nothing. Because anything that's presented to them is viewed as fake. I mean, seriously, have you tried talking to a left-wing NPC? You can present them with real, authentic evidence, video even, bank records, contents from the laptop, and they will just say that it's fake because these NPCs have been programmed by left-wing media. I mean, I've had this conversation with so many people, like, dude, you got to see Hunter's laptop, and they're no, Russian disinfo. I'm like, hey man, did you see Biden admitting to the Ukrainian quid pro quo on video? And they're like, nah, dude, that's not a crime. Come back with real evidence. I'd be like, oh, man, did you see that they have bank records now of financial transactions between the Bidens and foreign governments? And they'll say, no, I don't believe it. I'll say, so they'll be like, dude, there's 2 IRS whistleblowers and the FBI is corroborating the story. And they're like, no, it's fake. It's fake. If it was real, I'd see it on the news. Then I'd be like, okay, well, 3 people from Hunter's inner circle who were in the room, Devin Archer, Tony Bobulinski, they're going to testify. Say, nah, man, CNN said they weren't credible. I mean, do you see where I'm getting at with this? The only thing that is going to convince the average left-wing NPC on the street is an actual impeachment trial and actual criminal charges and guilty verdicts. And even then, even if we get actual charges, an actual trial, and guilty verdicts, they're going to look at you and say, nope, can't be real. It was political persecution. You know, the Republicans are going after their political opponents. That's what they will say. But, hey, on the flip side, when it comes to President Trump, well, they guzzle it all down because, again, they're programmed by the left-wing media. This is what the NPC does. They'll gladly agree that Donald Trump colluded with Russia to steal 2016, that he called Ukraine to get dirt on a political opponent, that he fueled an insurrection. I mean, no bridge is too far for the NPC when it comes to Trump, whether there's any real evidence or not, because I just need to remind you, Orange Man bad. I mean, they just believe it. It's crazy. No evidence for crimes that Trump has been accused of, and it's Orange Man bad. Just Orange Man bad. They could say Donald Trump ran over an old lady on Fifth Avenue in New York and not have any evidence to corroborate it. Trump could be in Florida, but if the media ran with it, you would have your average left-wing NPC saying, dude, did you hear about Trump? He totally ran over an old lady. Orange Man bad. But real evidence of Biden family crimes, real authentic evidence that you can touch, feel, see, taste. I mean, it's right there in front of you. Bank records, real evidence. Whistleblowers, real evidence. FBI and IRS, that's where the whistleblowers are coming from. Like these are real guys who had real careers that are putting it on the line. Nope, that's fake too, right? You can show them the tech receipts, and it's all conspiracy theories and Russian disinfo. It's getting so ridiculous now that even Ron DeSantis is defending President Trump and pushing for an impeachment trial for Joe Biden.
You look at they impeached Trump for a phone call. Are you trying to tell me Biden's conduct isn't as significant as that? It's way more significant.
Seriously.
So they are absolutely within their rights to do that. I think what the corruption that's surrounding this family is really unprecedented in the modern history of our country, and the lack of interest on this from the FBI and the Department of Justice. It shows you weaponization. There's two sides to the coin. Yeah, on the one hand, they will weaponize against a mother going to a school board meeting in, say, Virginia and get the FBI. But on the other hand, if you're connected to the D.C. ruling class, man, you could have smoke coming out, and they will just turn a blind eye to it. There's no interest in investigating, no zealousness with search warrants or any of this other stuff. So I think the Republicans are going to have to bring some accountability because we're not going to get it from the Garland DOJ and the Christopher Wray FBI.
And that's all we want. Just a little accountability. If you show me evidence of a Republican committing a crime, I will be the first to tell you to lock them up. Corruption from our political elites should not be tolerated, full stop. But the blind eye to the Biden administration and what they've been doing has been disgusting to watch. So, my friends, I leave you with 3 words. Pray for justice. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Thank you for being here today.
Got a crash that is causing a 13-minute delay north of Nashville. This is going to be in Clarksville. It's 24 eastbound, right after the MLK Parkway Highway 76, exit 11. Hunter Biden's lawyers say they weren't lying. It was just a staffer making a mistake. Details at 10 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. It is so good to have you back, my man. I'm so happy you're here.
Glad to be back, brother Chris.
In case anyone doesn't know, Ken is recovering from hernia surgery, and he got a hernia from carrying the team on his back.
That's more like carrying their water.
It's the second time I've done that joke, but I might go for a hat trick later. All right, good. So we were talking about Hunter Biden. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN, and how no matter what we do, the left-wing NPC, the non-player characters, won't believe anything they see. The super texters are weighing in at 615-737-9986. JB texted in and said, wait till AI video becomes common. They really will never believe anything. You're absolutely right, JB.
Scary.
0272 texted in and said, you know what? The Senate won't convict. And the tiebreaker, Kamala, is so stupid, she wouldn't convict either, even if it were to make her president. You're not wrong, 0272. Nothing's going to happen. I'm a little disappointed. What can you do?
Yeah, that's too bad. It's like no percentage of hope, really, probably. But
it's very low. Very low. 2936 said Beavis, Butthead, and UFOs. What a time to be alive. What a time. I mean, think about it. Of all the years on the planet, God put us here right now to witness this clown show.
And for you to spread knowledge about the clown show.
Hey.
What a ridiculous clown show.
It is a ridiculous clown show, Nancy. Thank you. All right. Anything else you want to add to the conversation, you can always call, text 615-737-9986, or you can find me online, Twitter, Instagram, Truth Social, at Chris Hand on Air. Hit the follow button. I will follow back. It is 9:59 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand, and now Ken Weaver, ladies and gentlemen, with the news.
Ten o'clock on the dot this Wednesday morning. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories, and we've got heat and humidity, just no rain. Full forecast coming up in 2 minutes. Right now in the Delaware courtroom, President Biden's son Hunter expected to plead guilty to avoid jail time for tax evasion and gun charges in a deal worked out with a Trump-appointed judge. Here's Terry Moran.
There's also an 11th-hour dispute in this case, with the federal judge overseeing it threatening to sanction Hunter's legal team, writing that a staffer on the Biden legal team appears to have misrepresented her identity and who she worked for in order to get the clerk's office to remove Hunter's tax documents that were shared with the court by House Republicans. Hunter's team calling it all an unfortunate and unintentional miscommunication, including a sworn affidavit from that staffer.
Entertainment news. Actor Kevin Spacey broke down in tears after being found not guilty on sexual assault charges in London today. Verizon says it's working to fix a worldwide outage, leaving hundreds of thousands of customers with no mobile phone or internet service. And here in Tennessee, the state teachers union is suing to block a law that says you can't teach a course on gender or race, which would blame a person based on that person's race or gender for the past. The union says it isn't clear and puts Tennessee students at risk of falling behind other students nationwide. Here in Nashville, Metro Nashville Police refuting a report on use of force and people of color as inaccurate and flawed. The report from the Community Oversight Board claims people of color are much more likely to be met by force from officers than white people. But Metro Police say the Community Oversight Board fails to mention analysis police provided, which shows that very few people who interact with Metro Police encounter any use of force. That analysis given to the Community Oversight Board 2 weeks ago, but they still failed to mention it. And in Money News, Chuck Severson says there's a meeting on monetary policy today.
The Federal Reserve is widely expected to raise rates another 0.25%, the 11th rate hike since March of last year. Many economists and analysts believe this could be the last increase for a while. It's because inflation has cooled to 3%, way down from last year's high of over 9%. All this without the recession many feared or predicted. The Fed's target, though, is 2%.
That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey, it's Chris Hand for Paul Winkler, Inc. As you know, I'm a husband and father to 4, so financial stability, as you can imagine, is a big priority. So I've already been thinking about paying for weddings and college down the road if any of the kids want it. And as I've been a listener of Paul's radio show since I moved to Nashville years ago, and after meeting with him and realizing he's the same guy I heard on air. He's smart, he's honest, legit. And after doing that, meeting him, finding that out, I was all in. Paul and his team hold themselves to a higher level of fiduciary standard than is required. Because of that, government regulators require that I tell you that I'm paid every time this commercial airs. But it was when I sat down with Paul, broke bread with him, and had my financial questions answered honestly that I decided to become a client myself. And I've been impressed. Paul's a smart guy. He knows the financial world better than I do. Plus, with Paul and his team, nothing is done on commission. And they're big on education, which is super helpful for me. He's made my financial goals far more realistic by explaining what to do and why. The investment education is evidence-based and backed by Nobel Prize-winning research. You should check them out. Every office is run by a degreed planner with over 20 years of experience. You can feel the difference between Paul's team and the rest. Experience equals confidence. Do what I did. Talk to one of Paul's team members. You can set up a complimentary 15-minute phone call right now on his website, paulwinkler.com. That's paulwinkler.com or 615-851-1950. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. How are you doing? I hope you're having a great day. Wednesday, July 26th. It's 88 degrees outside right now, man. It is hot. It is sticky. It's Tennessee. I don't want to hear you complain. You knew what you were getting into by living here. All right, so I just want to clarify some things. I know that we've been spending a lot of time here on Super Talk 99.7 just peddling Russian disinformation, okay? But while we do this, it's good to remind you that Joe Biden is out there, and he's putting boots on the ground and reminding the American people and the American public of the successes in his presidency so far.
If you could do anything at all, Joe, what would you do? I said I'd cure cancer. They looked at me like, why cancer? Because no one thinks we can. That's why, and we can. We'd end cancer as we know it.
Okay, jeez. They ended cancer as we know it. I just want to apologize to the listening audience that I missed that. Guys, I didn't see the press release. I wasn't paying attention to the news, apparently. But cancer's over. And I feel like I owe it to you to apologize, because it's my job to report the news to you, and I read a lot of news, but I missed the time Biden cured cancer. So please accept my deepest apologies. I promise I will not miss anything that monumental again, ever again. And kudos to Joe Biden. What an amazing feat. I mean, curing cancer, ending it as we know it, that is fifth head on Rushmore level achievements right there. Jeez Louise. What is going on in this man's head? These are the comments that he made yesterday, talking about the expansion of mental health care, of all topics, in the East Room of the White House Tuesday afternoon. The man is talking about the expansion of mental health care, and he's making comments like this.
We'd end cancer as we know it.
Yeah. I think that expanding mental health care is a great idea, Joe Biden. Jeez Louise. I am flabbergasted.
I don't know what the difference between breaking your arm and having a mental breakdown is.
I mean, it's pretty clear at this point, Joe. That is pretty clear. I'm not sure there's much that Joe Biden knows the difference between anymore. And as all this is going on, as this man is giving this speech yesterday afternoon, I just can't help but think that the only person that could be behind all of this, the kingpin of everything happening in the Biden crime family syndicate, has got to be Jill Biden. How can she keep putting her husband up there and just propping him up and letting him walk to the podium, knowing there's a good chance he's going to fall on his way, and letting him do this to himself? Had they walked away and went to a beach in 2016 after the Obama presidency and never looked back, I mean, think about it. They'd still be just filthy rich. They'd be sipping frozen drinks. They'd be spending time with their grandkids. And we would have never seen the investigations going on right now. We just wouldn't have. We would have forgot about Joe Biden. He's a very forgettable man. But instead, Joe Biden is having his massive extent of his corruption revealed. He's not growing old in comfort, and he's been ruining whatever shred of respect he had every time he opens his mouth or falls over. And his wife, Jill Biden, just lets him continue this, or she forces him, in my opinion. I mean, I think she just really loves power, because I don't think Joe knows where he is.
And we're still feeling the profound loss of the pandemic. As I mentioned, of over 100 people dead. That's 100 empty chairs around the kitchen table.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, that clip says everything. It demonstrates everything I'm trying to say. Over 100 COVID deaths. Factually true. I mean, if Snopes is going to fact check that, like, nailed it. Nothing he said was wrong. But such a strange way to say it. What are you talking about, Joe Biden?
And we're still feeling the profound loss of the pandemic, as I mentioned, of over 100 people dead. That's 100 empty chairs around the kitchen table.
This man is reading off a teleprompter. He's just got to read. That's like the only requirement that is expected of him at this moment. He's just got to read. And 100 chairs at the dinner table? 100 chairs? Where the heck is this guy eating dinner? It's such an old school thing to say. Oh, Americans care about issues at the dinner table. You know? That's like an old political thing that they fall back on. So like I get what he's trying to say. He always does the dinner table thing. But 100 chairs at the dinner table? Joe? 100 chairs at the dinner table?
That's 100 empty chairs around the kitchen table.
He's so mentally off that he can't even rely on his old faithful sayings anymore. And Joe Biden just lets him go out there. She's like the Wicked Witch of the West in all of this.
I've said it before. It was a lesson I learned coming out of not like real leaders in the civil rights movement, but I came out of the civil rights movement as a kid, as a public defender. And I used to, think that you pass something that was good, you can make hate go away. Hate never goes away.
Okay. All right. Hate never goes away. Thanks, Joe. I mean, another old faithful line of his, too. Came out of the civil rights movement as a kid when I was a public defender. Do you know how long Joe Biden was a public defender? 6 months. He was a public defender for a grand total of 6 months in 1969. It is 2023. I listen, dude. Like, all the credit to you. You accomplished something. You were something. Nobody can take that from you. But in 2023, if you're a politician and you're relying in speeches on accomplishments from 1969 when we were landing on the moon for the first time, if that's what you're relying on in public, in your speeches and your public statements, like, retire. Retire. The majority of the voting audience has no idea what you're talking about. You were a public defender in 1969 for 6 months before you scuttled back to the comfort of a paycheck at a private practice. He always leans on that. I'm such a good guy. I was a public defender. I mean, I remember hearing him say that. If I recall correctly, one of the times that I thought was funny was the Democratic primaries. And he did it. He originally said it to separate himself from Kamala Harris because she was a prosecutor, right? They're on the debate stage. So he says, I was a public defender. You were a prosecutor. Yeah. I mean, but he's also doing that to deflect from his record of being a huge shill for mass incarceration back in the 90s. But, keep playing that game. Keep playing the game. Let's focus on your accomplishments from the 1960s and 70s. Let's not focus on what you actually voted for in the 90s or what you're actually doing today. Great. Awesome. That's our fearless leader. And then this man, even it's just, we talked about NPCs, like the left-wing NPC. Joe Biden is an NPC. He only talks about what people give him talking points for. He is a non-player character in this scheme. Guaranteed. How can you expect him to be the main character in the story when he's saying things like this?
By the parent thing, do you ever think we'd be talking about banning books in America? Banning history? I'm serious.
We know you're serious because that's the talking points you were given. You're a non-player character, Joe Biden. You're one of them NPCs. I mean, the man says banning books. Do you honestly think that Joe Biden has looked at books like Genderqueer or This Book is Gay? Do you honestly believe that? Does anybody believe that? I don't think he would even be able to tell you about those books. And I honestly don't want an old man reading those books anyway. I think that they would be scarring and jarring if Joe Biden had to read Genderqueer or this book is gay. I mean, but these books have artistic depictions of homosexual acts. And is it actually banning them just because we don't want them in elementary schools? I mean, the books are available for purchase. The books are available at public libraries. You can find the books anywhere. You could probably find a free PDF of the book online if you were so inclined. So how is that banning books? I mean, it's not. It isn't. That's not what banning books is. But Joe Biden and his NPC brain, the non-player character who is just programmed to do what people tell him to do, has to say the line. He's got to say the line. They're banning books. Can you believe it?
Banning history? I'm serious.
He's so serious. Banning history? Banning history? Do you know what he's referencing there? He doesn't know what he's referencing, but I know what the speechwriters were referencing. They're referencing what we were talking about happening in the Temecula School District in California. You remember the story where parents and the school board didn't want new social studies books that celebrate Harvey Milk as a gay rights activist and civil rights leader. Well, why? Why wouldn't they want that? Do they hate gay people? No. They actually opposed it because Harvey Milk is a man who allegedly had sexual relations with a 16-year-old boy when he was in his 30s. And the parents didn't want him to be revered and lauded as a hero. So, I mean, is that banning history? I would argue that the left is rewriting history in the shape of their own narrative and forcing it down the throats of children. Probably a poor way to say that. So, these kids, the framing or the attempt at the framing over the banned books, the banned history. Joe Biden, what are you doing, man? Absolute NPC. His lack of ability to think and to speak is misinformed at best. I don't think he actually knows what's going on in either case. I really don't. I don't think he's familiar with genderqueer. I don't think he's familiar with the Temecula School District. So at best, he's misinformed. At worst, he's being maliciously dishonest.
Before I say even what's more is on my mind, I'm not going to leave this podium.
That's our leader. And we know there's nothing more on your mind, Joe. I mean, we all know it's abundantly clear. But I will say this. Before he left the floor, he opened it up for questions. And he was asked about his comments on Speaker McCarthy. And, of course, you know, he took those questions.
Mr. President, McCarthy says he may try an impeachment inquiry to get to the bottom of
I'm just kidding. He ran away. I mean, you didn't think he actually answered questions, did you? This is the Biden White House we're talking about. Questions are discouraged. Discussion is discouraged. Accept what we're telling you or you're evil. That's what we're dealing with here. It is 10:20 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Thank you for being here on The Chris Hand Show.
Now, the judge in the Hunter Biden case has a motion by Republicans to consider. Actor Kevin Spacey speaking out after the verdict in his sexual assault trial is announced, and Tennessee Teachers Union suing to block a state law restricting what kind of race and gender concepts can be taught in the classroom. Details at 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. That was Ken Weaver. News on the way. Before we get to that, I just want to remind everybody, the rep from California, Eric Swalwell, he is just downright a fantastic judge of character. I mean, if there was a guy that can judge character, it's Eric Swalwell. As we all know, he slept with a Chinese spy, Fang Fang. Old Fang Fang. But we're learning more about how he judged character and the people that he supports today. The Post-Millennial is reporting that it's been revealed that Rep. Eric Swalwell attended campaign events with former New Hampshire State Representative Stacey Lawton, a man who identifies as a woman. Now, Stacey Lawton, if you're unfamiliar, was arrested in June on child pornography charges. Lawton, 39, has been federally charged with one count of sexual exploitation of children and aiding and abetting by the U.S. Attorney's Office District of Massachusetts. He was the first openly transgender lawmaker in the United States, so he was celebrated for being brave while he was doing downright awful things in darkness. Lawton faces federal charges in connection with sexual exploitation at a Tingsboro, Massachusetts daycare center. Lindsay Groves, who is Lawton's former girlfriend and was a daycare worker, allegedly assisted the New Hampshire lawmaker in obtaining sexual pictures of children. Groves has also been arrested and was charged in June. In a press release, the Justice Department referred to the trans-identified male, Stacey Lawton, as a New Hampshire woman. Groves allegedly used bathroom breaks for the children, such as diaper changes, to take pictures of the children in the bathroom who would send the photos to Lawton. This is vile. If you saw a picture of Stacey Lawton and you ran into this person in public, there is no reasonable way you would want to have a conversation with this person. Just plain and simple. Full stop. Looks like a weirdo, probably smells like a weirdo, and judging from these charges is absolutely a weirdo. And that's putting it nicely. Downright evil is what Stacey Lawton was doing. There were over 2,500 text messages between Lawton and Groves, his girlfriend that worked at the daycare, that was on their phones and obtained by the prosecution. These included at least 4 sexually explicit pictures of children between 3 and 5 years of age. According to the Boston Herald, in one alleged text from Groves, she said to Lawton, "I want to do this with you with one of my kids." The text was in conjunction with a picture focused on the genitals of a prepubescent boy. These are the people that the Democrats are associating themselves with under the guise of being so progressive, and they're so brave. Lawton responded to that text message, albeit allegedly, until it's proven in a court of law. The New Hampshire state rep responded, "I also need to be honest. I mean, yes, that picture was hot of that little boy, but you probably have gotten the picture by now that I prefer little girls. But yes, he is cute." Other texts allegedly talk about the couples hooking up with each other as well as with children. I could go into more details on the texts, but for the sake of the radio show and the sake of my listening audience, I don't want to get into the graphic nature of some of these text messages. But I do want you to be aware that this is who the Democrats associate with. Eric Swalwell campaigned for this man that identifies as a woman. This is who they parade around as brave and courageous and can do no wrong. This is what they're doing in their own homes, on their own time. These people are evil, and we have to stay diligent. We can't just bend over and allow these people to sneak by. And we can't let stories like this get swept under the rug. It's 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Time for the news.
.30 on the dot this Wednesday morning. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Not a chance for rain well into next week. Full forecast coming up in 2 minutes. Hunter Biden in court agreeing to a plea deal on tax and gun charges that allows him to avoid jail time. But House Republicans have filed a motion for the judge to stop the proceedings and consider herself the IRS whistleblower's testimony before Congress last week that the Justice Department worked to make sure Hunter Biden got a sweetheart deal. Actor Kevin Spacey speaking out after a jury in the UK found him not guilty on sexual assault charges today.
I am humbled by the outcome today.
Spacey found not liable in a civil sexual lawsuit in October. And here in Tennessee, the state teachers union has filed a lawsuit against the law that restricts gender and race-based concepts taught in the classroom. This law prohibits concepts that include teaching race or sex is inherently superior to another race or sex, and an individual, by virtue of the individual's race or sex, bears responsibility for actions committed in the past by other members of the same race or sex. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. I've been teaching investing on Nashville airwaves for over 20 years with the Investor Coaching Show. And in that time, I taught a lot about how markets work and how we invest money and academic principles of investing money. But I've also talked an awful lot about how to avoid the mistakes that people often make with their money. Think about it. A lot of people sold out of the market at the worst time when COVID struck, or when TARP happened, the Troubled Asset Relief Program, or gold, they invested in that at the worst time. Bailing out of the market because they were worried about Y2K or 9/11 or jumping into energy stocks or jumping into cryptocurrency. One of the things that I like to do is educate investors because I believe that the more educated you are, the more confident you are, and the more confident you are, the more successful you can be as an investor. Now, I not only do that on our radio show, but we do that in our offices around the Nashville region, 10 offices. To learn more about our approach to investing and financial planning, go to paulwinkler.com and set up a free 15-minute phone call, or you can call 615-851-1950.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, it's Chris Hand. 10:36 is the time on your clock. 89 degrees outside. Hot, sticky. Just Tennessee living at the end of July. You know, don't complain. You know what you signed up when you moved here, or if you've been here your whole life, you know what you're in for. So take it up with our complaint department.
And, the sun stays out till 8 o'clock, so that's the positive.
Hey, Mac Morey with the positive take. Thank you, Mac.
I try.
You know who's having a tough time keeping things positive?
Who's that?
Big Ron DeSantis. That's a radio segue. You're gonna learn something, Mac.
Pro.
Stick with me, kid. I'm gonna teach you a couple things. So Ron DeSantis, Florida governor, Republican presidential candidate, he is firing more of his campaign staff. He's actually let go a lot more than we were aware of. He's just let go a third of his campaign staff. The latest round of layoffs are coming as he attempts to reboot following a less than successful first few weeks. Less than successful would be the understatement of the political season. He had a car accident in Chattanooga the other day. It was minor, but I was on with Dan and we joked that's the, what his political campaign for president has been like, a minor car crash. In fact, the campaign has probably been worse than the car crash. According to Politico, 38 members of the DeSantis campaign have been fired. Federal filings revealed that he had 90 people assisting with his presidential ambitions in June, and 38 of them have been let go. Following a top-to-bottom review of our organization, we have taken additional aggressive steps to streamline operations and put Ron DeSantis in the strongest position to win this primary and defeat Joe Biden, says campaign manager Janera Peck. Let me translate that. They said, we've taken aggressive steps to streamline operations and put Ron DeSantis in the strongest position to win this primary. The translation is, we're running out of money. We're paying people to do things that aren't working, and we're no longer going to do that. The campaign manager went on to say, Governor DeSantis is going to lead the great American comeback, and we're ready to hit the ground running as soon as we head into an important month of the campaign. So, yeah, I mean, to say that DeSantis' campaign has been off to a rocky start, I think that's an understatement. I think it was off to a rocky start long before they started firing people and there were calls to rethink their strategy. I mean, as we know, earlier this month, they let go a dozen staffers, and it seems like they've been rethinking their strategy quite a bit. I mean, I think it was the original strategy was, and this is just from what I see, it seems like the original strategy was, I'm better than Trump and tougher on COVID. That was the first strategy. And you can text me if I'm wrong, 615-737-9986, or you can call 615-737-9986. I'd love to have the argument. But it seemed to me that the first strategy was, I'm better than Trump and tougher on COVID. And by COVID, I mean the policies and the tyranny. But that was a strategy that no one seemed to buy. Then they had the first rethink, and then they did something that it appeared to be a staged campaign stop where a Trump supporter told Ron that she changed her mind about Trump. Do you remember this? We talked about this on the show. They staged this. Not officially. There's been no official word that this was staged. But in my opinion, this is the most staged comment ever at a political campaign.
I was invited to come today to listen to you by this gentleman, Representative Moss. I'm a very hardcore Trump supporter. But I know he made me stop and think a minute, because my love for President Trump comes from all the despair, all the things that he's been through, has served as our President of the United States, and he did a good job. But all the things, I'm thinking more with my heart and my sorrow and my love for him and for this country. But now this is the most important vote that we're going to have. and I have to think more with my mind and what's best for this country. And you did an excellent job, and I certainly appreciate it.
God bless you. Thank you.
Oh, God bless her. Thank you. So brave. So stunning. I mean, obviously, that is staged. I felt like it was staged from the moment she said this.
I'm a very hardcore Trump supporter.
I'm a very hardcore Trump supporter. Like, no, come on. Come on, guy. I mean, that was so fake. I bet this is my take. I bet you there was a young kid on his social media team that was trying to convince him, if we do this, it will go viral and people will start to feel like it's okay to switch from Trump to DeSantis. But it was so obviously staged. This out-of-work actress was just, crossing the picket line from the Hollywood strike and probably got a few $100 for that. And it flopped. I mean, it did nothing for his campaign, and he dropped in the polls soon thereafter. Partly because Trump was indicted again, and partly because of his low energy. And now we seem to have a new plan. Did you guys notice the new plan? The new plan is just okay, screw it. We're just gonna have Trump's back again. That's the new plan.
You look at they impeached Trump for a phone call. Are you trying to tell me Biden's conduct isn't as significant as that? It's way more significant. So they are absolutely within their rights to do that. I think what the corruption that's surrounding this family is really unprecedented in the modern history of our country, and the lack of interest on this from the FBI and the Department of Justice. It shows you weaponization. There's two sides to the coin. Yeah, on the one hand, they will weaponize against the mother going to a school board meeting in, say, Virginia and get the FBI. But on the other hand, if you're connected to the D.C. ruling class, man, you could have smoke coming out, and they will just turn a blind eye to it. There's no interest in investigating, no zealousness with search warrants or any of this other stuff. So I think the Republicans are going to have to bring some accountability because we're not going to get it from the Garland DOJ and the Christopher Wray FBI.
I mean, we're slowly seeing him pivot away from being anti-Trump to having Trump's back. This is an odd plan to win the nominee in the presidency. I mean, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I think at this point, the only way Ron is going to save his political career is to bow out and go full Trump support. And mind you, even if he does that, it will feel forced. The guy revealed himself. I'm not sure why he did this. I have no idea. Had the man waited, 2028 would have been his, whether Trump won in 2024 or not. Seriously. We can all agree with that. Everybody loved Ron DeSantis before he launched his bid for president. And I don't know why he did this. Maybe he was swayed by donors and started to believe his own hype. But I think it was always a losing move to run now. He said he wouldn't run, first and foremost. He said he wasn't going to run for president. And Trump helped him win the governor's seat in Florida. He absolutely looked disloyal. You can't argue with that. The man looked disloyal. And if Ron DeSantis had waited until 2028, clear favorite. Whether Trump takes the presidency in 24 or not, easy. If Trump loses twice, DeSantis would never have been viewed as disloyal for running in 28. And he's so young. The man's so young. Why not be patient and wait 4 years? I don't understand it. I can only say that he started to believe his own hype and that the donors got to him. And to me, he was just doing too much. Campaign for Trump. That was always the winning move. Because if Trump wins, you get a guy that's going to go into the White House and he's going to go full scorched earth, possibly dismantling the FBI, firing bureaucrats, eliminating red tape, rebuilding the economy again. And then DeSantis could have gotten into the White House in 28. In the best case scenario, a clean house and none of the backlash for doing what needs to be done because Trump would have already done it. Right? That would have been the best case scenario. Because even if DeSantis came out and got the nominee this year and became the front runner for the Republican nominee and went on to face Biden in the presidency, he will face tremendous backlash for doing what needs to be done in 2024. And every president has to deal with the fact that you're running your first term with an eye towards your second. You're governing with an eye on your reelection bid. If Trump wins in 24 and DeSantis goes in 28, he doesn't have to do the hard things. Those would have been already done. He could have gone in with a clean house. None of the backlash. And I'm sorry, Ron DeSantis was never going to convince a Trump supporter not to vote for Trump. He just wasn't.
By this gentleman, Representative.
He wasn't.
I'm a very hardcore Trump supporter.
That's so fake. He just wasn't. It was foolish for him to think that he could convince a Trump supporter to vote for him. And again, I think he let too many yes men into his circle. Listened to his never Trump donors, bought into his own hype. I think he needs to bow out, go full Trump. I think it's the only way that he could save his political career. What do you think? 615-737-9986. You can jump in the conversation on the phone or on the text line. Super text line 4675 says he could still be VP. That's what I hope. I mean, he could still be VP if he bows out and goes full Trump. Right? 4295 says DeSantis lost me. I'm taking a hard look at Ramaswamy for 2028. Hey, DeSantis lost me too. You know what I want for 2028? After seeing the Tucker Carlson Ice Cube interview from last night, I want a Carlson Cube ticket for 2028. That is the best case scenario.
Oh, that'd be great.
0792 says, I think it's all an act. I think he's going to be Trump's VP. Scott texted in and said, I love Trump and I love DeSantis. My choice would be DeSantis because Trump comes with more baggage. Scott, I can't disagree with you. Trump does come with a lot of baggage, but he's the clear-cut favorite. I don't think DeSantis has a chance, not a snowball's chance, to knock him off for the nominee. 7546 says, I'm sure there's a path for DeSantis at this point, but he must apologize big if he wants to win support for 2028. 1514 says, DeSantis layoffs is not the news. Why does the Biden campaign only have 4 employees? He does not plan on running. That could be true, 1514, but, the news is what the news is. I think it is news when the guy in second is laying off a lot of his campaign staff. We could spend all day on Biden's lack of a campaign. Although, I will argue, when you're campaigning from a basement, 4 employees, that's a lot. That's a lot of people. 9566 said Aldean for president. Hey, at least come to a campaign rally. 8715 said that Trump supporter was about as believable as Bidenomics.
I'm a very hardcore Trump supporter.
I think it was all political talking heads that convinced DeSantis it had to be now. It might be never. I heard several of them. So, yeah, I think you're absolutely right, 8715. Absolutely right. 1219 said you can be a pretty great governor or a mediocre presidential candidate. He chose the latter. Ruthless 1219.
I'm a very hardcore Trump supporter.
So fake. So yeah, I mean, I think the only way for DeSantis to save his career now is to bow out, go full Trump, support him, and hope that he has a shot for the presidency in 2028. He may have hurt his reputation in this new Republican Party. It may be so damaged now that it will never be repaired. I still think he has a chance, but I think that chance is only if he pivots now. Is that just me? 615-737-9986 if you want to be part of the conversation on the super text line or call into the show. Phone lines are open. 2400 said, I really hope that DeSantis becomes Trump's VP and makes a name for himself in the coming years, because otherwise, all those idiots he listened to did was take him out of contention for the future. You're absolutely right. And maybe that was the donor class's plan in the first place. make DeSantis believe his own hype, and lead him to the wood chipper. Because everybody knew he wasn't going to win over Trump supporters.
I'm a very hardcore Trump supporter.
Not even the hardcore ones. It's 10:51 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Thank you for being here. This is the Chris Hand Show.
The Hunter Biden plea deal appears to be in jeopardy. We'll tell you what's going on coming up at 11 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
You can't just leave me hanging like that, Ken Weaver.
That's called TSL, Brother Chris.
I want to know now. All right, so we were talking about Ron DeSantis and his floundering campaign. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Hunter Biden news on the way. But I got a text from 8335. And this is what I love about the super text line and what I love about the conservative movement in general. We're allowed to disagree with each other. We're allowed to have different opinions and different views, and that's what is like the best part about us. So 8335 texted in and said, Mr. Hand, I love it. It's so respectful. You could have just called me, hey, loser. But Mr. Hand, I could not disagree with you more. Ron DeSantis has not been going after Trump hardcore because I think he knows the score. Getting out there and getting on debate stages and making his case to the American people about what he stands for and what he's all about may not win him this time around, but could place him in a very good position for 2028. 2028 will not happen if he doesn't get out there and raise his awareness amongst the voters. That's what he's doing now, in my opinion, laying the groundwork for 2028. I agree, and no, I don't agree. I see where you're coming from, 8335. I disagree. I think the groundwork to lay for 2028 would have been done much more efficiently by supporting Trump, by continuing his assault on the woke mind virus that's infecting the country, and by staying in the media doing things like attacking Disney. I think that is a major, major winning strategy. Running against Trump and having all of the Trump base turn on you, not the winning strategy that one would hope for. It is 10:59 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Ken Weaver had that amazing tease about Hunter Biden's plea deal, and he's going to tell you about it right now. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It's 11 o'clock on the dot this Wednesday morning. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. I don't see a chance for rain well into next week. Full forecast in 2 minutes. We've got breaking news from that courtroom in Delaware where Hunter Biden was set to agree to a plea deal and avoid jail time if he pleaded guilty to tax evasion charges and entered a diversion program in lieu of pleading guilty to a felony gun possession count. Now it appears the judge has an issue with not pleading guilty to the gun charge, so she's had attorneys on both sides get together, try to work out the differences, which she told them she once worked out. So right now, nothing is happening in the Hunter Biden plea deal case until the two sides can come to the judge and she's satisfied with what she hears. Stay tuned. We'll let you know. That UFO hearing getting underway today on Capitol Hill. Jay O'Brien says 3 men who previously served in the military speaking publicly about what they saw in the sky and heard behind closed doors.
The lawmakers who are holding this hearing, they have already signaled that they have and will continue, they say, to clash with the Pentagon because they want more details out of the Pentagon. I heard from one source close to this investigation who says that these lawmakers believe that there is high-resolution video that's classified that could help in their investigation into these UAPs. They want access to that, and they say the Pentagon has denied that. The Pentagon saying that it's denied certain things from these lawmakers because the lawmakers who were asking didn't have the appropriate security clearances.
Actor Kevin Spacey speaking out after a jury in the UK found him not guilty on sexual assault charges today. The 64-year-old pleaded not guilty to 12 charges back in the spring.
I'm enormously grateful to the jury for having taken the time to examine all of the evidence and all of the facts carefully before they reach their decision.
Spacey was found not liable in a civil sexual assault lawsuit in October. And here in Tennessee, the state teachers union has filed a lawsuit against the law that restricts gender and race-based concepts taught in the classroom. This law prohibits concepts that include teaching race or sex is inherently superior to another race or sex, or an individual by virtue of the individual's race or sex bears responsibility for actions committed in the past by other members of that same race or sex. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
$11:05 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, what's up? It's Chris. It's getting hot out there, y'all. Tennessee living. So Hunter Biden, his plea deal with the DOJ falls apart in court. Oh my gosh, there's a picture of Hunter going in. And it's the first time I've seen him without a beard. He usually has a little goatee thing going on.
Oh, he cleaned up a little bit for this.
Yeah, but he should have just kept the beard. He's got...
Oh, it looks bad.
Yeah, he's got like I don't know. It's like he has a chin, but he's got like the extra large underneck area. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm trying to like, oh, yep, there it is.
Maybe he's off the cocaine. You gain weight when you get off drugs. I hope so. All right, so why did this plea deal fall apart? Ken Weaver had the story a minute ago. Reuters is reporting that the plea deal fell apart. The agreement fell apart when the judge expressed concerns about a provision in the deal that allowed Biden to not be prosecuted for a gun-related charge in a separate case. A Bloomberg reporter posted on X, formerly known as Twitter. So, I don't know. The judge has not been happy with Hunter ever since last night, when apparently someone from his law office called the court and tried to have them remove whistleblower testimony from the docket. Check this out right here.
Hunter Biden's plea deal is now in jeopardy. President Joe Biden's son is set to appear in court tomorrow, where Delaware Judge Mary Ellen Norica will decide on whether or not to sign off on Hunter's plea deal. And Hunter Biden may have just jinxed the deal. You're not going to believe what he just did. Republican Congressman Jason Smith just filed a brief with the judge, entering into evidence the IRS whistleblower testimony. Basically a legal move to get the judge to think, you know what, are you really going to let this guy off so easy? And Hunter Biden's attorney called the courthouse clerk today and pretended to be a Republican attorney and told the clerk, oops, you know what, we didn't really mean to file all that whistleblower stuff. Can you guys just strike that from the record?
Can you just forget about that? So the judge has been mad since that happened yesterday. And can you blame the judge? I mean, what a ridiculous plot twist in the Hunter Biden saga. So now the plea deal fell apart at the hearing. They're saying it's over the gun charge, but I think the judge was just mad after what happened. Just furious. And how can you blame her? I mean, honestly, how untouchable does Hunter Biden think he is? I don't think he's on drugs anymore because of the pictures of his turkey neck, as one super texter pointed out, is what it's called. He looks like he's gained a little bit of weight. But for them to think that they can call the court and say, hey, it's the prosecutor. Sorry about that evidence we entered. We totally changed our mind. Let's just forget about it. How does he think he's not going to get called on that? Daily Mail reporting Hunter Biden's lawyers facing sanctions after being accused of lying. It's unreal. Delaware Judge Mary Ellen Norica had ordered the first son's attorney to explain themselves, and they did. They said it was an unfortunate and unintentional miscommunication. I just imagine them getting busted and all being in a room being like, what do we do? What do we do? Oh, no, they found us out. We're absolutely in an alternate reality with this latest development in the Hunter Biden saga. So, it was alleged that Hunter's lawyers sought to remove testimony from IRS whistleblowers about the Justice Department's lackluster criminal investigation into his tax offenses from the court docket. The matter under consideration appears to stem from an unfortunate and unintentional miscommunication between a staff member of our firm and employees of the court. We have no idea how the misunderstanding occurred. It's a mystery. But our understanding is there was no misrepresentation, Salerno wrote to the Judge Norica Tuesday evening. So he claimed that Jessica Bangles accidentally caused some confusion when she passed the information on to the court employee, resulting in a mistaken identity and misunderstanding that she had called from Mr. Katia's firm. I am completely confident that I never indicated that I was calling from Mr. Katia's firm or that I worked with him in any way. Sure. All right. So if we're going to believe that at face value, if we didn't know what we know about Hunter Biden, I mean, maybe that's believable. But say it was just some average Joe on the street with the criminal record that Hunter Biden has. Sorry, Freudian slip. You wouldn't believe it in a million years. So how could they honestly think that this is a misunderstanding? And today, the plea deal is falling apart. I can only assume that means that UFO evidence is going to be ramped up in the coming hours to distract us from everything. They're going to reveal a mothership hiding behind the moon or something, just so we stop talking about Hunter Biden. Because as these revelations come out, it's getting worse and worse for the Bidens. So yes, I fully anticipate UFO distractions because a real possibility of impeachment is on President Joe Biden's doorstep as we speak.
You've got an informant claiming that the Biden family had been bribed. Should you ignore that or should investigate that? The only way you can investigate that is through an impeachment inquiry so the committee would have the power to get all the documents that they would need.
And you know what? Without an impeachment, the left-wing NPCs, the non-player characters who are programmed by the media to just do as they're told, they're not going to believe anything. Even with an impeachment, even with actual convictions, guilty verdicts, even with that, I don't think that they will believe it. Joe Biden could go to jail and the NPC would say that the right is persecuting their political opponents. We've seen it over and over. Hunter's laptop, Russian disinfo. Biden admitting on video that he had the prosecutor fired in that Ukrainian quid pro quo. And nah, man, it's not real evidence. The bank records, they don't believe bank records. They don't believe IRS and FBI whistleblowers. They don't believe any of it. Three people from Hunter's inner circle who are in the room. Well, CNN said they weren't credible, so why is the NPC going to believe it? You see what I'm getting at? The only thing that is going to convince those on the left is actual guilty verdicts. And even then, again, they're not going to believe that. They won't. And all we want is accountability. I know I railed on DeSantis last segment, and I railed on his political campaign, and I kind of drug him a little bit. But even DeSantis kind of has Trump's back here and wants to see an impeachment trial.
You look at they impeached Trump for a phone call. Are you trying to tell me Biden's conduct isn't as significant as that? It's way more significant. So they are absolutely within their rights to do that. I think what the corruption that's surrounding this family is really unprecedented in the modern history of our country, and the lack of interest on this from the FBI and the Department of Justice. It shows you weaponization. There's two sides to the coin. Yeah, on the one hand, they will weaponize against the mother going to a school board meeting in, say, Virginia and get the FBI. But on the other hand, if you're connected to the D.C. ruling class, man, you could have smoke coming out, and they will just turn a blind eye to it. There's no interest in investigating, no zealousness with search warrants or any of this other stuff. So I think the Republicans are going to have to bring some accountability because we're not going to get it from the Garland DOJ and the Christopher Wray FBI.
No, we won't. And again, that kind of goes to my point of why I think DeSantis should have waited to run. Because DeSantis, if he was to get the nominee in 24 and he's going to win the presidency, he's not going to be able to dismantle what they have at the DOJ and the FBI without a media onslaught the way Trump could. But that's why they indict Trump. That's why they persecute him and they go after him harder than any other political guy out there. I mean, do we honestly think that the left-wing media is going to hold them accountable at all? Even with an impeachment trial, they will tell us that nothing's going on and this is fake. I mean, seriously. They just don't believe it. The people on the left don't believe there's anything going on. And then people like Karine Jean-Pierre stands up in front of the White House press corps and says, you know, we're not answering any questions. We don't have anything to say about Hunter Biden. He's a private citizen.
It's not going to get into anything that's related to Hunter Biden. He's a private citizen. I would refer you to his representatives. Just don't have anything to share on that. That is something that he is dealing with, and so would refer you to his representatives on this.
Yeah, talk to the representatives. I mean, his plea deal is falling apart in court. How could you expect the White House press corps to comment on, the press secretary to comment on that? I mean, pay no mind to the massive criminal conspiracy unraveling behind the curtain, please. Stop asking about that. She did, however, comment on whether or not Joe and Jill would have been at Biden's court appearance today where his plea deal fell apart.
In June, after the president's son, Hunter Biden, it was announced that he's going to plead guilty to 2 misdemeanors. The White House put out a statement in which the president and the first lady said that they love their son and they support him as he continues to rebuild his life. Tomorrow, when he's making this first court appearance and presumably enters a plea of guilty to these 2 misdemeanors, will either the president or the first lady be by his side? Do you happen to know? And if not, why not?
Look, a couple of things. What you just said about the president and the first lady loving their son, and will continue to support him as he moves forward with his life, that continues to be true, and that
So
will
true.
stay to be true. Anything else, I can tell you that the president will be here, working on behalf of the American people. As
Working
you
hard
know,
till
the
lunch.
first lady is actually abroad, doing the
did she
business
say?
of the American people, and so I just don't have anything else to share.
What did she say right there? Did she just call the first lady abroad?
Of the American people, as you know, the first lady is actually abroad.
Rampant sexism in the Biden White House. Look, we absolutely know the Bidens won't be in court with Hunter. They weren't in court with Hunter. I mean, could you have imagined the media circus if Joe and Hunter rolled up to court together? I mean, I can't imagine it.
Oh my gosh.
It would be glorious.
Ooh.
It would have been glorious.
That would have been fun.
But I mean, for them to think Jill's going to show up, I don't think Jill wants to even be seen in public with Hunter, let alone in a courthouse. And I don't blame her. I mean, he's the guy that's taking down the crime family she's worked so hard to protect all these years. Jill Biden did not work her way up from babysitter to mistress to wife to first lady to let Hunter ruin it for her. I think the only member of the Biden family that Jill probably even likes is the dog that keeps biting everyone.
It seems that Commander Biden has a bit of a biting problem. Can you give us the latest and also any plans for him to perhaps make a move, go stay with some family friends as Major Biden?
Are you going to get rid of the dog?
So, as you all know, the White House complex can be unique and very stressful. And that is something I'm sure you all can understand. And it is, as I just said, it is unique and it is stressful for all of us. So you can imagine what it's like for a family pet and family pets more broadly.
Yeah, it's so stressful. Do you know that? All right, so listen to this. Joe Biden's dog, Commander, has reportedly bit or attacked Secret Service agents as many as 10 times between October of 22 and January of 2023. One incident required a Secret Service agent to go to the hospital.
Wow.
Dude, if last year we were like taking bets and somebody said, which member of the Biden family is going to send a member of the Secret Service to the hospital? There is no way that I would have put $100 on the dog.
German Shepherd.
There's no way. There's no way that would have been a smart bet.
Well, and I mean, Major was before Commander, right? Their first time, he's not in the White House either.
No.
So this is 2 for 2 on the German Shepherds.
And Joe Biden reportedly gets out of the shower all naked and wet and pulls the dog's tail and then breaks his bones. You remember that story?
What?
Yeah. Google it, man. Joe Biden, during the campaign, I believe it was, or during the first year of his presidency, jumped out of the shower and pulled the dog's tail, and that's how he hurt and broke his ankle or foot, whatever.
What?
I don't pay too much attention to Biden's injuries. He's always falling over, falling into something.
My dog isn't near me when I get out of the shower. That's all I know.
No. It's gross.
Very.
And the last thing you do is pull a dog's tail.
Yeah, what?
Crazy old man. All right. So Hunter Biden's plea deal is falling apart. The dog at the White House is biting everybody. Jill is just insane. And Joe Biden's lost his mind. Did we cover everything? I think we covered everything. It's 11:21 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, it's Chris Hand for the team at USS. Now, I am new to WTN, but I'm not new to USS. Like you, I have heard their commercials for years and years on Super Talk 99.7. And just last week, I had a chance to sit down with the team at USS, and I have to tell you, the work that they do is amazing. They have so many satisfied customers, 25,000 to be exact. And I can tell you why they do good work and why they have satisfied customers. It's because the team there is honest, hardworking, and they're proud of the work they do. They're literally great people. So if you're noticing standing water in your crawl space, wet basement walls, cracks in your basement floors. Your house is trying to tell you something, and USS will help you figure out exactly what that is. Give them a call today, 615-488-7855, USS, 25,000 satisfied customers, and I'm confident that you will be number 25,001. Call USS today at 615-488-7855 or USSTN.com.
The Hunter Biden plea deal has fallen apart. Actor Kevin Spacey is ecstatic but in tears, and Verizon says it fixed it. These stories, I'm stuck on deals. These stories and more coming up at 11:30 on Zipper Talk 99.7 WTN.
Ken Weaver, what's happening, man?
I want one of those deals, man.
I know you just had hernia surgery. Did they put you on some kind of medication? Is it affecting the performance?
Well, it's very powdery.
Oh my goodness, dude. So Ken,
did you happen to be at the White House in the past few weeks, Ken? Or?
The way it makes you feel, I was everywhere all the time.
Ken, do you have any more insight on this Hunter Biden plea deal? Is it because of what happened last night with the lawyer calling and trying to get that stuff removed from the court documents?
Yeah, see, that's the big question. And so far, everything's vanilla on that from all the reports I'm seeing. But that's the big question, because this thing was going to go through, wasn't it?
It looked like it was good to go.
Yeah, for there all of a sudden to be, I mean, I know that the Republicans filed a motion today, but the motion really doesn't have anything to do with the gun part of these charges. All the motion was for the judge to consider what the whistleblower reported last week, testified to Congress about overhearing heads of departments in the Justice Department calling for this sweetheart deal. All we're getting today is that the judge doesn't like the fact that Hunter Biden won't have to be prosecuted for the gun charge, but for that to all of a sudden be an issue, it raises a lot of questions.
See, my first gut instinct is that it's got to stem from her being mad about what transpired yesterday.
Yeah, I can't say one way or another, but yes, I mean that's a question.
It's crazy. Thank you, Ken Weaver. News on the way at 11:30. So Hunter Biden's plea deal falls apart, and once again, the smartest guy the president knows is he's in trouble. He's in trouble. His lawyers are accused of shock and unethical maneuvers. The House is just investigating everything, and major names are calling for impeachment. Speaker McCarthy, Ron DeSantis. The Biden regime appears to be crumbling. I know I say I hate to do this, because the Democrats do it all the time, but the walls appear to be closing in on the Biden crime family. I'm kidding. I don't know. Probably nothing's going to happen.
It's all coming down to now.
Everything's falling apart for the Biden family, and then nothing's going to happen.
Yeah.
So apparently, I'm also texting at the same time with Matt Murphy and Dan Mandis, and Matt on the text said prosecution agreed to allow for new charges if they come. So we'll wait and see. Who knows where this could go? I just want to see some accountability. If I had a gun and I lied on a background check to get it and then threw it away in a trash can near school, I would face criminal charges for it. Rightly so. I just want Hunter Biden to be held to the same standards that myself or Mac Morey or Ken Weaver would be held to. Is that too much to ask? Probably. It's probably too much to ask.
Yeah.
Super text line if you want to be part of the conversation, 615-737-9986. The Hunter Biden plea deal falling apart. The walls are closing in. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Here's the news.
$11:30 on the dot this Wednesday morning. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Heat and humidity is going to be the top story when it comes to weather for the foreseeable future. That's because there's not really any rain in the forecast to cool us off. Full forecast in 2 minutes. The Hunter Biden plea deal is in jeopardy. Reports say the judge has a problem with part of it. The president's son would avoid jail time as a result of pleading guilty to watered-down tax evasion charges and enter a diversion program for the felony gun charge. But the judge has a problem with Biden not being prosecuted for the gun charge and has tasked attorneys for both sides to get together and hammer out a deal for her to review before this case moves forward. Now, today's hearing already making headlines after the judge threatened to sanction Hunter Biden's legal team after she found that a staffer allegedly identified herself as part of the prosecution in communications with the court clerk. Hunter Biden's lawyers calling it an unfortunate and unintentional miscommunication, including a sworn affidavit. And actor Kevin Spacey found not guilty today on sexual assault charges in London. The Oscar-winning actor had pleaded not guilty to 12 charges of sexual assault. And Verizon says it fixed that worldwide outage, leaving hundreds of thousands of its customers with no mobile phone or internet service for a couple of hours this morning. However, Verizon has not said what caused it. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. I've been teaching investing on Nashville airwaves for over 20 years with the Investor Coaching Show. And in that time, I taught a lot about how markets work and how we invest money and academic principles of investing money. But I've also talked an awful lot about how to avoid the mistakes that people often make with their money. Think about it. A lot of people sold out of the market at the worst time when COVID struck, or when TARP happened, the Troubled Asset Relief Program, or gold, they invested in that at the worst time. Bailing out of the market because they were worried about Y2K or 9/11 or jumping into energy stocks or jumping into cryptocurrency. One of the things that I like to do is educate investors because I believe that the more educated you are, the more confident you are, and the more confident you are, the more successful you can be as an investor. Now, I not only do that on our radio show, but we do that in our offices around the Nashville region, 10 offices. To learn more about our approach to investing and financial planning, go to paulwinkler.com and set up a free 15-minute phone call. Or you can call 615-851-1950.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It's 11:36. My name is Chris Hand. I just want to make sure that we're not burying the lead today, okay? Hunter Biden's plea deal is falling apart. You're seeing massive push for an impeachment trial for Joe Biden. The Biden's dog is biting everybody. But again, the lead story on everyone's radar is this.
If you could do anything at all, Joe, what would you do? I said I'd cure cancer. They looked at me like, why cancer? Because no one thinks we can. That's why, and we can. We've ended cancer as we know it.
Joe Biden has ended cancer as we know it, you guys. All right. So we peddle a lot of Russian disinfo here. So I want to make sure that you guys hear the accomplishments of the Biden regime while you make your decision for 2024, because this is massive.
We've ended cancer as we know it.
It's over. Things will never be the same.
Thanks, Biden.
Thanks, Joe. Yeah, thanks, Obama. Thanks, Joe. This is great news. I'm very pumped. All right. So the super text line is open at 615-737-9986. I got a great text responding to this comment from Corinne Jean-Pierre. Here she said this.
Just not going to get into anything that's related to Hunter Biden. He's a private citizen. I would refer you to his representatives. Just don't have anything to share on that. That is something that he is dealing with, and so would refer you to his representatives on this.
Okay, so they won't comment on Hunter Biden because he's a private citizen. And Super Texter 0397 pointed out, isn't Donald Trump a private citizen too? Oh, weird. Weird how that works out. He is a private citizen. But we're not allowed to talk about that, guys. Come on. Come on, man. You know better than that. It's okay when Orange Man bad. But not when it's Hunter Biden. He's a private citizen.
About to say, Chris, come on. He's a private citizen, man.
I'm sorry.
Come on.
Listen,
be respectful.
I need to stop focusing on what the Biden's private citizen family members have done and start focusing on the accomplishments of the Biden administration, you know?
We end cancer as we know it.
It's over, so. And Hunter Biden's a private citizen. So.
We get down to what really matters here on the Chris Fan
Let's
Show.
boil down to really like the meat, the crux of the argument. Hunter Biden's a private citizen. Cancer's fixed and Orange Man bad.
Woo! All right.
Can we go home early?
That's it. That's it. We figured it out.
All right. So as Hunter Biden is going into court, he's shaved his beard. He looks overweight. He's probably not on drugs anymore, just judging by the weight he's packed on. That's my professional opinion as a non-professional in the field. But Jesse Waters talked about last night the funniest twist in the Biden crime saga yet. It just tickles me pink, y'all.
Hunter Biden's plea deal is now in jeopardy. President Joe Biden's son is set to appear in court tomorrow, where Delaware Judge Mary Ellen Norica will decide on whether or not to sign off on Hunter's plea deal. And Hunter Biden may have just jinxed the deal. You're not going to believe what he just did. Republican Congressman Jason Smith just filed a brief with the judge, entering into evidence the IRS whistleblower testimony. Basically a legal move to get the judge to think, you know what, are you really going to let this guy off so easy? And Hunter Biden's attorney called the courthouse clerk today and pretended to be a Republican attorney and told the clerk, oops, you know what, we didn't really mean to file all that whistleblower stuff. Can you guys just strike that from the record?
I love what Jesse Waters said there. He said, Hunter Biden may have jinxed the plea deal. And it turns out, my friends, the plea deal was jinxed. Now, I'm watching everything unfold on Fox News. It's on in the studio. I'm like, I don't really like the Paul Ryan network, but Fox News is on in the studio. And I'm watching this, and it says in a little square down at the bottom of the screen, White House press briefing soon. But what does that have to do with anything? Because as we know, you won't get anything out of Corinne Jean-Pierre when it comes to Hunter Biden.
Just not going to get into anything that's related to Hunter Biden. He's a private citizen. I would refer you to his representatives. Just don't have anything to share on that. That is something that he is dealing with, and so would refer you to his representatives on this.
I mean, politics at this point is the WWF. We are watching the most crazy storylines play out in real time. Like, you faked a phone call to the court to get evidence removed, pretending to be somebody else. You jinxed your plea deal, and it's falling apart. You may actually face criminal charges for the gun. This is the craziest stuff that could ever happen. I say it almost every day on the show. What other crazy things could happen? Can anything crazier happen? So yes. Yes, it can, and it will, and it is. It's happening right now. 615-737-9986. Super text line is open. 4504 said Joe Biden is the cancer. Needs to be cured. Needs to be cured. Kyle texted in and said, wasn't Trump Jr. a private citizen when they tried to smear him? Yep.
Well, don't make it make sense, Kyle.
Yeah,
Come on. You're
Kyle.
adding logic to this.
Yeah, there's no logic in the Biden administration. John texted and said, Chris, Hunter is a private citizen, but is in business with Joe, shaking down enemy foreign countries for favor. Big business. John, you're absolutely right. That's the joke. That's the whole joke behind this thing. It's an absolute joke. But they'll say, you got to talk to Hunter's lawyers. Got to talk to Hunter's lawyers. Well, Hunter's lawyers are busy right now because his plea deal is falling apart in court. Unbelievable revelations with Hunter Biden. Unbelievable. So he makes the phone call last night. They try to get the evidence removed from the court docket. They have to apologize to the judge. The judge is just, I can only assume, furious. And now is she exacting revenge on his plea deal? That's where my head goes. That she's taking this out on them. And she's going to make him face, the crimes that he's committed. And at the same time, UFO hearings are going on today. That's going to take a majority of the news this afternoon because why wouldn't they use that to distract? Joe Biden may wheel a UFO out onto the White House lawn today to distract from everything. I assure you. It could be a prop from Hollywood. They're on strike right now. The props are available. Joe Biden may wheel one out onto the White House lawn to say, look, guys, found a UFO to distract from what's going on with Hunter Biden and with Joe Biden facing an impeachment. The man is literally facing impeachment.
You've got an informant claiming that the Biden family had been bribed. Should you ignore that or you should investigate that? The only way you can investigate that is through an impeachment inquiry so the committee would have the power to get all the documents that they would need.
The committee should have the power to get all the documents they need, impeachment or not. They should be able to get all the evidence they need. I pray that we do get an impeachment. I think it's the only thing that's going to make lefties wake up to what's really going on. Even then, they will deny. They will say it's a lie, like they've done with everything that's happened to Joe Biden. Everything. None of the evidence is real. Bank records aren't real. Whistleblowers aren't real. 3 people from Hunter's inner circle is fake. CNN, CNN told us it wasn't credible. So why does a lefty NPC need to believe it? They won't. And that's the point. 3616 texted and said the DOJ will charge Trump on January 6th to get Biden's out of the news. Yep, you're probably right. That'll probably take a lot of the heat off the Biden crime family. Just charge Trump for January 6th. He's probably on the phone with Merrick Garland right now. Or somebody in his camp is. I don't know if Joe can use one of these fancy iPhones. He's too busy out there curing cancer.
We'd end the cancer as we know it.
That was Joe Biden yesterday at the White House. The man is he's out there.
I'm not going nuts.
He is going nuts. This is another thing he said yesterday during his speech on the East Lawn.
And we're still feeling the profound loss of the pandemic, as I mentioned, of over 100 people dead. That's 100 empty chairs around the kitchen table.
100 people, over 100 people dead from the pandemic. Yep. You can hop on Snopes and see that the fact check is true. Over 100 people have died from the pandemic. But 100 empty chairs, Joe?
That's 100 empty chairs around the kitchen table.
How big is his kitchen table?
Well, he's got room in his mini mansions.
When you're taking in money from foreign governments for influence peddling, you can afford a massive kitchen with a 100-seat kitchen table.
Bingo.
That's 100 empty chairs around the kitchen table.
100 empty chairs. The old political trope, Americans care about what's going on at the dinner table, not what's going on in Washington, D.C. And you know what? We got 100 missing chairs at the dinner table.
That's 100 empty chairs around the kitchen table.
I mean, he's butchering his old faithful lines. And all Joe has to do is read a teleprompter. That's his one job now. We all know He's not really doing anything policy-wise. Other people do that for him. He's not reading any news. Other people do that for him. They give him his talking points. All he has to do is read the teleprompter.
Damn it! Who typed a question mark on the teleprompter? For the last time, anything you put on that prompter, Burgundy will read.
He'll read anything that's on the teleprompter. But the man is so mentally off, he can't even read the teleprompter. It's crazy. Absolutely insane.
Keith texted in and said Joe Biden's the alien that they'll be talking about in those UFO hearings.
Jesus. You're not lying. It's so funny. I mean, but Biden is so mentally off, he just goes back to his old faithful lines, like over and over in these speeches.
I've said it before.
He says everything a couple times.
It was a lesson I learned coming out of not like real leaders in the civil rights movement, but I came out of the civil rights movement as a kid, as a public defender. And I used to, think that you pass something that was good, you can make hate go away.
Oh.
Hate never goes away.
Hate never goes away. What? Wasn't he didn't he campaign on being like the party of unity? And now?
Hate never goes away.
It doesn't go away. So, all right, Joe. This man is so off. He says he was a public defender yesterday in that speech. He was a public defender for 6 months before he jumped back into a nice, cozy paycheck at a private practice. He always leans on the public defender thing. And why? Why do we care what you did in the 1960s, Joe? No, nobody does. Nope. I don't. I mean, he was a public defender in the 60s. He was a shill for crime bills in the 90s. In the early 2000s, he was anti-gay marriage, just blasting it, marriage between a man and a woman. Then when he's in office with Obama, he's pro-gay marriage, and he's also pro firing prosecutors in Ukraine to get his son on the board for energy companies. He's pro-influence peddling. Let's talk about recent events, Joe. But he did talk about recent events, actually, right here.
By the parent thing, do you ever think we'd be talking about banning books in America? Banning history? I'm serious.
Yeah, banning books, like genderqueer, and this book is gay. Again, the man is a talking head. He reads a teleprompter. He gets his bullet points in the morning. I don't think that he has ever even looked at the book Genderqueer. Hunter, on the other hand, I bet you he's read it a couple times. The biggest news of the day, Hunter Biden's plea deal is falling apart. And good. To that, my friends, I say, hear ye, hear ye. It's the best news of the day. Hunter Biden could actually face some justice. And that's amazing. It's 11:50 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. This is The Chris Hand Show. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It's 11:57. Joined by my best friend, Matt Murphy.
BFFs.
We just became best friends.
Hat buddies.
Sorry, Mac. So,
yeah, what?
Mac, enough. So,
it's hard to have your subordinate being your. That's a hard thing to work out.
What'd you say? What'd you say? I couldn't hear you.
Very good, Mac. Boy.
As I've told producers over the last 23 years, short term that feels really, really good.
Yeah.
Long term, I don't know how that's going to work.
That's fair.
All right, give me your instant reaction on Hunter Biden's plea deal falling apart.
I'm a chaos man, so I love the chaos that it presents, especially for the mainstream news media that wants desperately to put this story to bed.
Yep.
They desperately want this to be a non-story, and it becomes a huge story in as much as the Democrats, it was the old Shakespearean hoisted by your own petard, right?
Yep.
That you set a bomb and it blew up all over you, and the fact that they misrepresented themselves to the judge gives the judge the easy reason to say, no, I'm not putting up with any of this anymore.
And she was already catching so much grief for the plea deal in the first place, being a shill for the Bidens, and you know, all that comes with that.
Well, and the narrative has been from the hashtag #NeverCNN crowd, well, yeah, the judge has the ability to reject the deal, but no judge ever does that. It would have to take extraordinary circumstances. Oh, lying to the judge? That's an extraordinary circumstance.
It's very extraordinary.
I love it.
I'm here for it.
I am too,
I
man.
just want to watch the Democrat Party burn. Is that all right? Like,
yes.
Like, just
yes.
It's a dumpster fire.
Yes.
I just want to get some marshmallows and enjoy it.
Oh, I love it. Love it. We'll cover it. We're obviously going to talk about this right off the top.
Oh, this is exciting stuff.
Yeah, I like that hat, by the way.
Thank you, Chief Wahoo.
No jean shorts, though. We need to talk about that.
Of the Cleveland Indians on my hat. Yeah, no jorts. Just cool hats. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN.